Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our new webinar in the series of AI and the built environment. We are 1 year now after our first series, so we're going to hear from 3 very interesting people about how AI embedded itself in the day-to-day practice. Since the first series of webinars where we were discussing how AI may impact the way we work in the built environment. So my name is Pierre Sonal. I'm the co-founder of Arc Digital and Cloudforma. I'm also lucky to be a board member of the Franco-British Data Society, which is an organization which is working both in the UK and in France and a bit more widely in the EU to foster cooperation around the usage of data, which includes obviously AI. So I invite you all to have a look at our website and see the different opportunities to collaborate with us, support us, joining us if you want to. And if you have ideas of follow-up webinars we can do to have a larger debate about the use of data and how it impacts our day-to-day life, please feel free to pass them on. So without further ado, today we're really lucky to have Natalie, Jaime, and Rubens, who are going to present where they are at with the use of AI. So without further ado, I will give the floor to Natalie. Thank you very much for being with us. And the floor is yours. And you have, give or take, 5 minutes. So I'll be very strict in 4 minutes. Yes, I'll let you know that we have 1 minute left. And then after the 3 presentations, we will have questions from the audience and a bit of a discussion between us. So thank you very much, everyone, for being there. Natalie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Pierre, for the introduction. I hope you can all see my screen. So I'll rush through it very quickly because 5 minutes is very short to cover what's happened in a year. For those who had seen the presentation last year on how our practice works with AI, we're a relatively boutique practice based in Paris and London, founded by myself with a team of people that has very early on adopted AI in our workflows out of curiosity at first, and now out of necessity, in the sense that we continue to work with it and are very excited to be developing all these updates and looking at how it integrates into our workflow. We really see this as a paradigm shift that is driving innovation and shaping the future of the practice of architecture. We think the relationship we have in client, but also the education of architects, which I'm very involved in. And here you can see that the various topics or elements of our work that we cover with use of AI. We also very quickly set up a way to work with it in our team by holding these regular talks within our team itself, and sometimes inviting people as well to collaborate, where there's one person who drives the AI research in the office and that shares a new AI tools to test in the studio with the other people. So that has continued evolving over this last year very interestingly, with everyone chipping in, and a podcast that I set up about a year and a half ago called Designing Futures, where we also have guests with who we tackle the question of not so much actual tools and so on, but the larger questions that AI represents for our creative industries. So I presented last year how we use AI at NAME, the various elements such as feasibility studies, site planning, and layouts at early stages of project conceptualization, visualizations, sustainable design, and client engagement. And this is kind of a topography of how this has evolved as well, that it evolved over the year with the different tools we've been using, some of them bespokely that we developed, some of them that we've integrated into our workflows. But really, all of these topics have very much evolved in the way that we've integrated them. Of course, as well, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with this, and the other presenters will integrate that too, but we've also included a lot of organization and automation tools bespokely developed as GPT assistants for our workflow to simplify research, to enhance the design processes, to support us in RFPs. We do that a lot, and with methodology statements, analyzing RFPs, etc., onboarding and training our staff, and also developing guides to have prompts for Midjourney and other such tools that we use to create the output that we're looking after. So this actually is an example of the testing this with our bespoke prompt generator. If we ask, was a project that we were working on, a competition for beer spa in Iceland, and you can see the images that were generated by asking ChatGPT to just generate a prompt versus the ones that were done with the prompt assistant that was trained to produce images that fit our architectural style. And you can see that the difference in output and how we are slowly kind of we're actually quite rapidly controlling this more and more in terms of the desired output. We've of course have a mapping of the different tools that are out there and what their advantages for particular uses, which one is best for what, and we're trying to keep that up to date as well, and develop our tools accordingly. I think the one where we've made the most progress in is really this prompt engineering, where we are able to get much more accurate and useful visual outputs from the AI tools that improve the quality and the depth of our research using the language models that we've developed. And we're also building much more reliable and focused AI agents for specific tasks. So, for example, the image that you see here was one developed for a competition we did recently, fully developed with AI tools without an actual or a model behind it, but where we were really able to control the output to the level of the details that we wanted to present. Another thing we like to test is also...
we have 1 minute left.
Oh, okay, sorry. So the different interesting to see the different outputs we get with the languages that we use, just for as something to be aware of, but also the control we have over the words that are used. So if, for example, you use emotions in the prompts, how that controls our work as well. I'll finish maybe by showing some of the workflows that we've set up with Stable Diffusion and how we're really improving these to be able to control the output, but also to come back and revisit a certain output when there's client feedback, and control the visualization output and the modeling output, translating also, turning from images into 3D or plans that we can then work with. So that's also a lot of the workflows that we've been developed. I won't go into these, questioning a lot our workflow with AI. So we've mapped that out to understand how we're using it at the different stages. I think that one of the very important questions for our profession is to understand how these changes will question the way that the industry is used to work. For example, the traditional stages that we're going through now, feasibility, concept design, etc., are kind of re-questioned because we're showing much more at the beginning, early stages, and are able to develop things much more holistically. That will, of course, also question the traditional fee structure that is in place, insurance, and etc. And that's very interesting questions that are starting to emerge for us and other practices, and the industry as a whole. A quick mapping of our effectiveness of using these tools and how much time and money we've saved on them. And a question for what do we do with this kind of the gain, the time we gain, and the money, the less of the money we gain through this, what do we use it for? I wouldn't forget to mention, of course, the dangers that we see in it, and how it's affecting our profession. And I won't go through the regulations. That's for maybe another time. And I really invite you to listen also to our podcast, where we've tackled some of these very interesting questions, especially with the latest series with the CEO of Cubic, which is a company that creates feasibility studies for commercial spaces, which are completely AI powered, whereby clients have a response for layouts in 24 hours, and really to understand how this will be changing our jobs as architects and the face of the industry, as well as what it implies in terms of teaching AI architecture in the age of AI. So I hope I'm not over time. But happy to answer any further questions that people might have, and the questions that we can all reflect on for the future. Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Very difficult exercise, and I'll take two things from your presentation. First, I advise everyone to listen to the podcast, Designing Future. It's pretty incredible to go in depth with people. Some of them have been working on AI from way before the hype. That's the case with Cubic. And the second thing, maybe we can come back to it at the end, is how you refine the use of prompts. Because a big question is, how do we communicate with AI? How do we ensure that we get the results we need? So it's fascinating to see all the work you put in getting the prompts, including with some element which you wouldn't have associated with AI, which is feelings and moods. So looking forward to discuss this further. Now, Jaime, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes. So I'll let you know after 4 when you have 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
Hello, so I'm Jaime Ingram. I'm a co-founder of Art Digital, and a very short introduction to what we do. So basically, we are an architectural design studio that we are heavily based around Open BIM workflows. We offer also consultancy services around Open BIM implementation, point cloud modeling, and we also have our own market where we publish design tools, especially for architects using ArchiCAD, which is our platform of choice. From a year ago, we were already seeing integration of different visualization options in software. For example, ArchiCAD introduced the AI visualizer integrated directly in ArchiCAD to be able to produce images using Midjourney. And we've seen general announcements from the Nemetschek group about the AI assistant that is going to be extended now to the rest of their products. One of the interesting things that we wanted to highlight is that we have extended the use of AI to our general practice. And one of the facts is that we are using Google workspaces. So we have Gemini integrated in our workflows. So we are using it more and more to summarize documents, or to, for example, create automatic meeting notes when we have a partners catch up or a meeting with a client. It does a great job in summarizing what has been discussed, suggested actions, and you can get a full transcript of all that was discussed. We are also using it to map data into our ArchiCAD templates. For example, recently I was doing a work on mapping EPD values for LCA calculations in the building materials that we have in our template in ArchiCAD. Here you can see a list of all of them, and here we have the associated EPD values for the different stages of the materials transport, construction, and demolition. And with the use of Gemini, I was able to map these values from the exporting an XML file, parsing the XML file, and then produce a list that then we could format to the format required for ArchiCAD. And these are EPD values average for each of the different materials that we have in our template for specific UK locations. So it's quite useful to have this kind of assistant. What we've seen as well is an increase in the way that the language models are able to help production of elements. So, for example, one of the tools that we have for ArchiCAD is the billboard tool, that you can use any PNG image to produce any 3D asset with very low polygon count. And one example of this is that we are using generative AI to produce this kind of assets. For example, you can ask for generative trees. We are also using it in coding. So, for example, this is one tool that I've been developing recently that I use to generate different patterns that you can choose from here. For example, you can choose a diagonal gradient, and it applies those colors to the blocks. You can change the kind of palette that you apply, for example, a rainbow palette. And a lot of this was able to be programmed in GDL with the help of AI. So for example, here are the different algorithms that we are using to apply the different patterns. And a lot of this was produced with the help of AI that apparently Gemini now understands GDL scripting. So as long as you have the base, it can help you a lot to achieve different results. Another example is this accessory for slabs.
1 minute left.
That with the help of AI, I figured how to program a ray tracing algorithm that makes sure that whenever you are dragging the object, it cannot go out of the boundary of the slab that contains it. A bit similar how the default skylight objects work in ArchiCAD, that you cannot drag them outside or they return to the position. But even in this situation, this feature was not available, so AI helped me to devise a script to limit the position of the object inside the bounding box limits of the slab. Another example is that we developed a 3D polyline that is able to draw any shape in a space. And one feature that I wanted to integrate was the calculation of the centroid, and it's independent of the 3D shape of the object. And this centroid calculation was also produced with help of AI, because the generalization was for 2D polygons, but I wanted to extend it to any 3D shape. So I also used AI to help me program that.
Thank you very much, Jaime. And one big takeaway from your presentation is that not only AI can embed itself in every aspect of the practice, from administration to actually coding to help with the design, but although you can really use it individually. So you had some problems that you needed to solve, and that even sometimes your experience wasn't maybe enough. So you could use AI in collaborating with it to devise new ways of working. So it's not just a tool, it's something which really embeds itself in the workflow.
And really inspiration as well. A lot of the features that I'm embedding in these tools wouldn't have been ideated without the help of AI.
So probably another interesting topic for the debate after. And so thank you. Rubens, same, the floor is yours, 5 minutes, and I'll let you know when you have 1 minute left. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, just a second. Let me know if you can see it. Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so hi, my name is Rubens. I work in Itus. We're gonna talk here. It's a bit high level. It's how we are using AI to support our process and give foundations for to have an accurate digital twin. Okay. So just a bit about Itus. Yeah, it's a company since 2005. Then I don't take more time on that. And what I do, so Itus, there are many groups. They work with, it's an engineering company and work mechanical, electrical. But what I work is in the design management group. So the client hires us to manage the design. So we do document control, drawings, models, planning, and like a beam checking. So it's a management, it's a technical management of the project. So we connect architects, engineers, structural teams, and then we schedule and check to deliver the project to the client. So from rebirth stage 1 to rebirth stage 4, and then we also offer support during the construction phase, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So if the client gets to us, they say like, oh, I want, like in this case here, I'm just saying like a very high level, oh, I want this car. So then we have a process, we follow stages, we do checks, and there we go, the client gets what they want. to do all those checks, like seems it's just an icon there, but it's a lot of process. So we need to be very careful. If we don't follow those steps, then we would get something different. So that's what we are doing. Like I had other presentations where I show in like the very technical side of those checks, but I'm gonna show here in the high level what we do. So we basically we need teams and we use AI to the data analytics of things. So we are not programmers, and programmers are, let's say, usually more expensive than what the construction companies can pay. So we are using low code tools, Dynamo Make, Grasshopper, Power Automate, and any other tools. Also like a proper programming tool. So they're like, you might be familiar with vibe coding thing. It's like where you have like a shallow understanding of programming, and then the AI agent came to help and then create those softwares and applications. So during the construction phase, we need like real-time monitoring, issue detection. Then we can create a digital twin. That the basis for a digital twin. Of course, a digital twin, you need to plug IoT and all of the other data analytics things. But if your as-built model is not accurate, then your digital twin won't be accurate, and then you won't have your management, the facility management correct. So like if you get just your digital twin from the latest design, then you will probably end up with something that's not reality, and then you're going to mismanage the thing. I know, Pierre, I have another minute timing here.
Yeah, well done. 1 minute left.
Yeah, so those are just examples like how we design, and actually you need to verify to get those things in place. And to analyze these data, we use softwares, we use AI. I showed before, we use programming. We use a workflow where during the design, usually you check, but also we check during the construction, and then we keep this feedback looping. You can use also AR, VR, and automated QA, QS, QA, QC softwares, like in-house development or out of the shelf. But like basically we need standards, team collaboration, and tools to get this down the line. And then you can have your digital twin. But we use AI as a support for all of that. And and we are running that in the background. Okay, so that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Rubens. Bang on time. And really the takeaway from your presentation is, I think it's very complementary to what Natalie and Jaime presented, because there is the sort of design and conception aspect, there is the management of the design process, but then there's also the quality control. So I think we touch on the three key aspects of really the built environment. And I am not sure why we can't use the chat to share information. So I will invite now anyone in the audience who wants to ask a question to unmute themselves or raise their hand if they have a question. In the meantime, I may start with maybe a quick question for you three, if you can answer in like a couple of sentences, is during this last year, how do you feel about the upskilling that your team members had to go through to be able to use AI? Because it's one thing to have processes and to want to embed it, but how do you take your team members in that journey with you? Natalie, if you want to start, because you briefly touched on it during your presentation.
Yeah. I think in a sense we have the advantage, or that's maybe one advantage of smaller firms, is that the team is not that big. so also easier to onboard. But I have to say that from our interest in AI and our development of these tools came from a very bottom-up approach. It was the whole team that started with it and exchanged knowledge, and that's how we're continuing to work. So it's not something that we're imposing on anyone, but rather it's kind of coming up now with new members that are joining. It's something that we make sure is something that they're comfortable with and an interest for them to work with these tools. So not everybody needs to use everything, all the tools. People start taking strength in a particular aspect of it, but we're very adamant that everyone has to have an interest and understand what the strength of these tools are and where and how we adapt them.
Thank you, Natalie. Jaime, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I agree with Natalie. I think we operate in a similar way. We have a very collaborative environment, so a lot of the team meetings that we have together, we are sharing a screen or showing our methods of working, and in our partner meetings, we generally discuss the new advancements that we are applying in our workflows using AI. But yeah, as Natalie mentioned, everybody can use AI as a tool in different contexts, and we have seen how different members of our team are embracing it more or less depending on their particular tasks. But I think to a certain extent, everybody is already using it. If it's just not to what I mentioned before, taking notes from a meeting or helping you with grammar or writing, there are a lot of applications.
Thank you. And Rubens, if you want to maybe give us your perspective from a company which is of a larger size.
Yeah, it's over 250 employees at the moment. So we had first week like a big action, was like AI day, and then everybody was like it was the official launch of the program, and then now it's going through like a pocket and having like groups. They having course and it's specific to their speciality or what they're doing, like let's say HR, market, and then engineers, and then management, and then like I feel it's very open environment we have here. Like if we are going to ask IT, say, oh, I saw these two, like what you're saying, and then IT goes through and say, okay, let's give it do a pilot, and then we start trying, and they're encouraging us to try out and see what's worked best.
Thank you. And so we arriving at the end. Unfortunately, 30 minutes is never long enough. So I will have one last question, if you can, the three of you answer in one sentence. So we are 1 year on. Last year, we were talking on how we were going to try sort of to embed AI. Now we are talking about how we embedded it and what we are doing with it, like it's normal. Where do you see yourself and your practice in a year from now? What do you anticipate that AI will do and how it will develop? I know, very difficult question to answer in one sentence, so thank you. Thank you for trying. Natalie, if you want to jump in first.
Wow. Yeah, I think for me, the main question will be how we can, of course, continue with the tools as they're developing, also decide on which ones we adopt and which ones we don't, because it's everything, every day there's something new. So how do you manage this flow? But also from starting to question how we review our workflow and fee structures accordingly and how to educate the clients towards that. And we've started seeing some demands on RFPs that we're responding to that are ask us to include AI in our process, especially for visualizations. So that has an effect, obviously, on the fees that the client is expecting. So I'm interested to see how that aspect will evolve, and because that will take a long time to educate the whole industry to this.
Thank you, Natalie. Jaime, if you want to jump in.
Well, what I think is going to continue as a trend is this general integration of AI in our daily workflows. We've seen small or incremental integrations depending on the app that you are using. For example, we saw that with Adobe apps in the first instance, but now, for example, we use Apple computers in our practice, and Apple is generalizing the use of Apple Intelligence in all the systems. So I think we will see a big change in that. And as I mentioned, Nemetschek is actively applying the AI assistant to a lot of their solutions. So I think in 1 year we will see a lot of changes in that. Especially helping in automatic repetitive tasks in your modeling environment, for example. I think that could be very useful integration.
Thank you, Jaime. And Rubens, your take on this?
Yeah, like I'm doing a lot of vibe coding, let's say, like creating my own apps, creating my own automated solutions. I've seen like some people start working integrating AI into Revit, into Navisworks, into ACC. So I'd say like I think we might see some vibe architecture, vibe engineering. People, they're not architecture, not engineering. They start like sketching and then starting creating some things that of course, like what might not be functional, but what might be more like accurate what they want and what they expect. But then architecture engineers, they're using more like a command voice to produce their outcomes.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone. We are a few minutes late, but I think it was worth it. Thank you for sharing so much knowledge and insight within the 30 minutes. And I hope to see you in a year time. Maybe we can decide that in a year, we'll see where we are at and what changed. So thank you very much, Natalie, Jaime, and Rubens. Thank you, the Franco-British Data Society, for hosting us today. And I encourage everyone to have a look at the Franco-British Data Society, to be involved so we can have more events like this one and have more constructive debates. So I wish you all a very good day. Thank you again for being with us and hope to see you soon.